Hi, Shawn Driscoll. Welcome back to the TQ Assessment Follow-Up video series. I'm excited to continue the conversation with you about how you can use the power of your Trailblazer quotient to help you propel your business to the next level with more freedom, impact, revenue, and ease. Today we're going to talk about some common Trailblazer traps. You see, the Trailblazer is really all about being at the forefront, being a leading edge expert, an authority in your market. And what I've come to discover is that very specific personalities are drawn to be trailblazers. And with that drive to be at the leading edge, to be a thought leader or an innovator or an inspirational figure or a subject matter expert, with that comes some traps that we can fall into if we're not careful. And each Trailblazer type has its own set of traps to look out for. So we're going to talk about that. But before we talk about the types, I want to talk about 3 traps that I think most Trailblazers experience at one time or another while building their business. So first, what we have is the comparison trap. Many Trailblazers fall into the comparison trap. So if I sit over here in the innovation quadrant and I do my work and create my programs or my signature program, I still may be looking over what so-and-so over here is doing with their information empire, and well, that's different, and I don't have what they have, or they have something I don't have, so that comparison. Another common one is somebody up here in intimacy comparing themselves to somebody over here. Well, they have a bigger list, or they have more influence, or whatever. Or comparing themselves over here. Well, they have content. I don't really have a lot of content. I'm more of a process person. So comparison happens all over the board here. And what you want to do is really watch that tendency to compare yourself to other types or to others within your type. Because this is, again, all about the freedom to be you. The freedom to show up fully as who you are with authority, with confidence, with clarity. Because without that, you cannot be a leading edge expert. Right? Having the ability to lead requires a strong presence and a strong voice. And comparison really puts that into question. Another common trap that I see many Trailblazers struggle with is independence. Most Trailblazers, by their very nature, are most comfortable being independent. They're strong, they're independent thinkers, they're independent minded, often have been in situations by choice or by force that required them to take independent action, do it on their own, don't ask for help. And so they tend to have a little bit of difficulty with getting support, asking for help, receiving help, delegating, and things like that. That leads me to the next trap, which is resisting structure. Some of you watching this, if you've gotten this far, may still be bristling at just being put into buckets at all. I don't like to be typed, I don't want to be boxed in, I can't be forced into some structure. Or you may resist structure on the inside, that maybe your work is so creative or organic or intuitive or it's a divine download that you don't see that there's any structure to how you deliver your services, and therefore that holds you back. So those are some really common Trailblazer traps that come up almost universally in each of the types. Now I want to dive into some more specific traps by type to support you in watching out for them and knowing how to navigate and really take advantage, full advantage of the strengths of your type without falling into the slippery slope that may exist if you're not careful. All right, so we're going to start with our intimacy quadrant. Intimacy types are, again, people who like that deep connection, that deep transformative work. They often have an intuitive process or a natural process that they use, and they often can fall into the trap of working dollars for hours. Because of the high value placed on customization, on personalization, and on individual transformation, these business owners can lock themselves into thinking, into the mindset that the only way to accomplish custom, personalized, intimate customer connection and intimate transformation is one-on-one. And they fall into the dollars for hours trap because they don't see a way out. They think products and programs and services that are leveraged or more scalable won't work for them. That's a huge trap to fall into because there's no growth potential there. And it's also not true. It's a story that you're buying into. Overly responsible. So quite often, again, because of the deep connection that you have with your clients in an intimacy-based business, sometimes you can become more responsible for their transformation or more responsible for their results than they are. And that can be a trap, because if the client is depending on you more than they are depending on themselves to get a specific result, to see value, to get a transformation, or to change their lives, they're not going to do the work that's required, and you're going to take it on as your personal project. So you have to watch the trap of owning your responsibility in the process and really showing up for your clients and bringing your best to the table, and also expecting them to do the same. The third trap I see here is quite often intimacy-based businesses will take on the wrong clients. There are many mindsets underneath why that happens, but some of the common ones are, I feel like I should. Sometimes we do it because we see the potential in a client and we want to invest in that potential, even though the client may not be ready to live up into that potential yet, and they become a very difficult, struggling client. Sometimes it's because of the dollars for hours trap has caused a mentality of taking anything for money. What happens though when you continue to work with the mismatched client or the wrong client for you is that you get drained. It drains you of your energy, it drains you of your passion, it drains you of your enthusiasm for what you do, and you start to question not only your business model, but also your abilities, which is a really dangerous trap. So you just want to watch, if you are strong on the intimacy score, watch any of these tendencies and check yourself and challenge yourself. Really question those stories if you happen to find some of them may be true for you. We're going to move actually on down here into innovation today. And if you remember our innovator business model, so if you're strong here, it's because you love ideas, you love fresh thinking, provocative thinking, maverick thinking, you want to be a pioneer, a thought leader, somebody on the leading edge, which is wonderful. One of the risks of being an innovator can be that if you're more involved in the ideas and your maybe technology or your unique process or whatever it is that you are bringing or innovating, it can sometimes come across as cold and detached because you're up in your head. It's all about the idea. And so what's really important here is to bring that and connect it with some heart. Innovation with heart. That's what we're talking about in terms of being a trailblazer. You know, thought leadership with heart. Also, you may find yourself as an innovator caught in spin or reinventing the wheel all the time. This is difficult for innovators because they love new ideas over old ideas. So once something's not new anymore, they want to be reinventing and doing something else. The downside of that is if you haven't figured out a way to monetize the original idea, and all you're doing is starting over all the time with the next brand, the next product, the next idea, and you never really fully launched the last one, you won't be making much money as an innovator. Misunderstood. Quite often, innovators, because they are ahead of the crowd, they're ahead of the trends, they see things coming before other people see them, they see trends before other people see them, or connections where others don't make the same connection. They often feel like they might be misunderstood. They're ahead of their time a little bit. You know, things that they're working on haven't gone mainstream yet, so they get questioned, people doubt them. Some misadvised coaches or consultants might even tell them to abandon their idea, that it's wrong or it won't work or it will fail. And so they begin to feel misunderstood and in it all alone. So it's really important that you surround yourself, if that's your experience, with like-minded thought leadership kinds of people, that you seek out support that will hold the space for you. Hold your feet to the ground in terms of being practical and reasonable to the extent that that makes sense for a trailblazer, but also that you don't squash the creative, innovative spirit that an innovator brings to the table. All right, so why don't we move into our information business model and the common Trailblazer traps if you are an information business. Content over connection. Sometimes, again, similar to the innovator, it's all about the idea or the information, and it doesn't connect with the audience. It doesn't connect with the client base. You're so involved in your own ideas and process and language that you forget to do the work of connecting and translating with those who will be purchasing and using your information. So if you find that sometimes that happens where something you've spent a lot of time on gets put out in the market and people don't love it, it's probably because you've been caught up in this trap of too much focus on the content, not enough on connecting. There are simple ways to overcome that by just staying in touch with your market as you develop your content. Creative chaos is another trap. Prolific creators often down at this level, because you are content creators, content builders, you can have so many ideas you don't know what to do with them, and you don't know how to make sense of them all or put them all together in a way that works. And before you know it, you could have developed dozens or hundreds of information products and pieces of content that are scattered all over the place, and you feel chaotic. Maybe the ideas are all in your head, maybe half are created, half are started, and half are still just floating. But creative chaos is a big trap. One of the strategies that can really help in this case, if you're in information, is to have a core mission, an umbrella concept, an umbrella brand promise that everything fits under, which actually takes me to the next bullet, because brand confusion is a huge trap if you are a prolific content creator. If you're churning out pieces of content over and over and they're on a broad range of subject matter because you see opportunity everywhere you look to create, what can happen is that who you are and what you stand for gets lost in translation. And now people really don't, while they love your content, they don't always know what it is you exactly do, what your business is really about, and how to make the best use of all this content that you've generated. So you can look like a TGI Fridays menu where there's just overwhelm of choices and it's hard to make decisions. So what you want to do here, if that is your trap, is get a focal point in the business. Understand the overarching transformation that all of this material supports and organize it into a path of growth or a signature system or a core signature program with some extensions. Just organize your content in a little bit different way. Lastly, we're going to move into the inspiration model. So the inspiration model, the trap here is sometimes can appear ungrounded, can appear like you're so wrapped up in the aha moment and the inspiration and ideas and possibilities that your feet are not on the ground. This can be a trap because people start to doubt whether what you're communicating to them will work. Well, it feels good and it sounds good, but is it practical? Is it going to work? So balancing possibility with practicality really helps balance that out if that is a trap you fall into. Also, overgrowth. Quite often, these businesses take off very quickly. They grow fast, and without investing in the right structures and systems, especially if you're someone who I talked about that resists structure or resists connection with people who will help, you can experience overgrowth and kind of crash and burn. It's like a flame out. It's like you're on fire, but then you just flame out because that business took off too fast and you're not able to deliver anymore successfully on the promises that your business holds because of all this background trouble with systems and so forth. Losing connection with your audience is another one. That getting so big so fast makes it difficult. I mean, there's a lot of information coming in at you all the time as an inspiration business person, and you're also dealing with a lot of ideas all the time. And so it's very difficult sometimes to stay connected to your audience in a real and meaningful way so that you stay relevant to them. When you lose connection with your audience, what you're really losing is relevance with them, and they will start to fall away. They will start to drift off because you don't have the relationship with them that got them to follow you in the first place. So these are the common traps, with a few tips on how to navigate if you find that one or two of those might be true for you. And hopefully this will add some additional insight on how to make the most use of your Trailblazer Quotient assessment. And until next time, this is Shawn Driscoll. Lead a life of difference.